Level 1. The analyst. You are 26 years old. You have a computer science degree and 2 years at a cybersecurity firm where you did penetration testing for financial institutions. You were good at finding the holes. You spent 2 years pointing at doors that companies didn't know were unlocked. Then you started thinking about the people who were using those doors, not theoretically, actually using them, and you made a different calculation. You joined the FBI. The FBI Cyber Division is not what the TV shows make it look like. It is not a room of glowing screens and urgent music. It is a field office in a city where most people drive to work at 8 a.m. and attend meetings about evidence handling, and the glowing screens are real, but the music is the sound of a building full of people doing careful work for long hours, on cases that take years to close. You are a cyber special agent, 2 years into your career. You are assigned to the Cyber Division's Network Intrusion Squad. Your cases involve unauthorized access to computer systems, corporate networks, government systems, infrastructure. The victims call when they have already lost something: data, money, access, control. Your job begins when the damage is done. The first case you work alone is a ransomware attack on a hospital system in Ohio. 200,000 records locked. The attackers are demanding $400,000 in cryptocurrency. The hospital has a decision to make, and so do you. You image the servers. You analyze the malware. You trace the execution chain backward through the logs, with the specific kind of patience that the job requires, and that cannot be shortened by urgency. Because in digital forensics, there is no shortcut that doesn't miss something. The malware is a variant you have seen before. Not the same family, the same author. A specific coding style, a particular obfuscation technique, a timestamp artifact that appears in every file this actor has ever touched. You write up the connection in your case file. You send it to the Cyber Intelligence Unit. You do not know yet if it matters. 3 months later, a related case in Germany produces an arrest. The timestamp artifact is in the evidence. Your case file is cited in the extradition request. You were one node in a network you never fully saw. This is most of the job. Level 2. The field agent. Year 4. You are certified as a case agent. You no longer support other agents' cases. You run your own. The cases you run are different from what you expected when you joined. You expected technical complexity. The technical complexity is there, but the part of the job nobody tells you about is the human complexity. The victim, the witness, the corporate security team that is embarrassed about what happened and needs to cooperate with a federal investigation while simultaneously managing their board and their lawyers and their public relations. A data breach at a healthcare company. 11 million patient records accessed. The company discovers it internally, 4 months after the breach began. They call their lawyers. Their lawyers call the FBI. By the time you are in the room, the breach has been over for 6 weeks, the attacker is long gone, and the evidence has been partially overwritten by routine system operations. You are in a conference room with 7 corporate lawyers and a CISO who looks like he hasn't slept in 10 days. You need the logs, all of them, including the ones that contain communications between the security team and the executives. Communications the lawyers want to protect. You explain federal law quietly and completely. You explain it twice. On the second pass, one of the 7 lawyers produces a notepad and begins writing. You get the logs. What the logs show is a nation-state actor, not a criminal, a government. The evidence points to a specific country's intelligence apparatus, which means the case moves up the chain, and the outcome you will eventually see, if you see one, will be diplomatic, not criminal. You write the referral. You transfer the evidence. You close the case file and open the next one. Level 3. The Cyber Squad Supervisor. Year 8. You are a supervisory special agent. You manage a squad of 12 agents. 8 of them are technically excellent. 3 of them are technically excellent and can explain what they found to a judge. 1 of them is technically excellent, can explain it to a judge, and can also see the whole case. The way the technical evidence connects to the human behavior, connects to the criminal structure, in a way that makes them someone who will run their own squad in 4 years. You are managing 12 people, while also maintaining a caseload, which is the specific mathematics of supervision that nobody explains before you accept the role. There is no version of this job where you stop doing casework. There is only a version where you do less casework and more of the work that makes other people's casework possible. A new type of attack is hitting municipal water systems. 3 cities in the southeastern United States. The intrusions are different in method, but similar in signature. Similar enough that you recognize the pattern before the field analysts do, because you have been looking at these signatures for 8 years. And pattern recognition in this work is accumulated the way it is in any craft. Slowly, through repetition, and suddenly. You assemble a task force. You pull the 3 cases into a single investigation. You coordinate with CISA and NSA and the water utility operators who are the victims and who have their own technical teams and their own lawyers and their own political environments. The task force produces an indictment 14 months later. The actors are in a country with no extradition treaty. The indictment is what it is, a public naming, a signal to other potential victims, a statement of record. Some of your agents find this unsatisfying. You have been doing this long enough to understand that an indictment is not a lesser version of an arrest. It is a different kind of accountability. And in the landscape of international cyber operations, it is sometimes the only kind available. You explain this at the team debrief. Most of the agents understand. The one who will run their own squad in 4 years understands it immediately and asks a question about the next case. Level 4. The Cyber Operations Unit Chief. Year 12. You are a unit chief at FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. The cyber division has several units within it. Criminal cases, which are the cases that can end in arrest and prosecution. National security cases, which involve foreign intelligence services and end in expulsion or indictment or quiet diplomatic consequences. Infrastructure protection, which involves working with the private sector and other government agencies to harden systems before the attack rather than investigate after it. You run the National Security Unit. Your unit's cases never go to trial. There is no jury, no verdict, no sentencing. There is intelligence, collected, analyzed, assessed, acted upon through channels you do not always see. You brief congressional oversight committees. You brief the NSC. You brief the director. A specific briefing on a Tuesday morning in February. A nation-state actor has been conducting a long-duration intrusion campaign against U.S. defense contractors. The campaign is not new. Your unit has been tracking it for 3 years. What is new is the scope. The actors have pivoted from defense manufacturing networks to supply chain infiltration, which means the compromise is potentially inside systems you cannot currently enumerate. You have 30 minutes with a room of very senior people. You present the intelligence and the gaps in the intelligence with equal precision. The gaps matter as much as what you know, because an overconfident briefing leads to overconfident policy. An overconfident policy in a national security context is a particular kind of dangerous. After the briefing, a deputy national security advisor pulls you aside. She asks how long before you have a full picture. You tell her honestly, possibly never. The picture you will have is the best available at any given moment. She nods. She has been doing this long enough to know that is the correct answer. You walk out of the building on Pennsylvania Avenue. It is February. It is cold. You pull your coat tighter and walk 2 blocks before getting in a cab back to the Hoover Building. Level 5. The Section Chief. Year 15. Section Chief. You now oversee multiple units. The criminal, national security, and infrastructure units all report to you. Your section has 240 agents and analysts operating out of field offices across the country and coordinating with international partners across 40 nations. The coordination is not abstract. It is specific. A Tuesday morning call with Europol on a crypto mining botnet. A Wednesday afternoon video conference with the Australian Federal Police on a ransomware group based in Eastern Europe that has victimized both countries. A Thursday briefing for the NSC on the infrastructure unit's threat assessment for the power grid. You are not investigating cases anymore. You are creating the conditions under which investigation is possible, the intelligence sharing agreements, the legal frameworks, the resource allocations, the relationships with foreign partners who are sometimes cooperative and sometimes political and sometimes both. A Senate hearing. You testify. The questions are about a high-profile breach that happened under your section's watch. A case where the attackers were inside a defense contractor's network for 14 months before detection. The senators have read the public reporting. They have not read the classified reporting, which contains the context that makes the 14 months comprehensible in ways the public reporting does not. You answer the questions you can answer. You decline the questions that cannot be answered in that room. You explain the declination clearly enough that the declining does not become the story. This is a skill. It takes years to develop. After the hearing, your public affairs contact tells you it went well. You know what well means in this context. No headlines. You walk to your car in the parking garage under the Dirksen Senate office building and sit in it for a moment before you turn the key. Level 6. The Assistant Director. Assistant Director for the Cyber Division, FBI Headquarters. You are one of the most senior cybersecurity officials in the United States government. You oversee a division with approximately 1,000 agents, analysts, and staff operating in field offices and in headquarters and in liaison positions embedded with the NSA, CIA, and international partner agencies. The job at this level is less investigation and more policy. You are not running cases. You are shaping the doctrine that determines which cases get resources, how international partnerships are structured, what the FBI's posture is toward ransomware groups versus nation-state actors versus hacktivists. These distinctions matter operationally because they determine which legal authorities apply, which partner agencies are involved, and what a successful outcome looks like. A ransomware group with alleged ties to a foreign government. Is it criminal or national security? The answer determines which unit it goes to, which legal authorities are invoked, which diplomatic channels are activated. In practice, the distinction is not always clean. You spend 3 hours in a meeting with DOJ and NSA and CISA arguing about which bucket this goes in. By the end of the meeting, the bucket is a hybrid, a task force that reports to multiple authorities and has the operational latitude to pursue whatever path the evidence opens. This is governance. It is slower and more complicated than the work you did in the field, and it is, you have come to understand, equally important. The agents in the field are only as effective as the authorities and resources and diplomatic frameworks that you and others in your position have built for them. Level 7. The Director's Advisor. You are seconded to the National Security Council as a senior cybersecurity advisor. The NSC is where national security policy is made. You are not the policymaker. You are the operational realist, the person in the room who can translate the intelligence and the capabilities and the legal limitations into terms that allow the policymakers to make informed decisions rather than aspirational ones. You sit in meetings where the principals are cabinet secretaries and national security advisors and deputy chiefs of staff. Your role is to answer questions accurately when asked, and not to speak when not asked, which is a discipline that is more difficult than it sounds in rooms where everyone has large egos and long track records and views that they have developed over careers. A cyber operation attributed to a foreign government has disrupted the operations of a major U.S. financial institution. The principals want options. You provide 3: a criminal indictment, a covert response, and a diplomatic démarche. Each option has a different purpose, different timelines, and different second-order consequences. You explain all of this without recommending one. The decision is not yours. The decision is made without you in the room. You learn what it was from the public reporting 2 weeks later. You do not know if it was the right one. You know what the options were. You know what you said. The rest is outside your visibility. This is most of everything, at this level. You operate inside a larger machine. You make the machine function better when you are doing your job. You do not see the whole machine. Level 8. The Division Chief. You return to the FBI as Executive Assistant Director for the National Security Branch, the highest operational position. You oversee cyber, counterterrorism, counterintelligence, and the weapons of mass destruction programs. Your title is long. Your portfolio is the full scope of threats to the United States that are not conventional crime. You brief the director weekly. You brief Congress monthly. You are in the building at 6 a.m. and rarely out before 8 p.m. Your body is registering 25 years of this pace in ways that your doctor has opinions about. A young agent from the Chicago field office emails your office requesting a meeting. She wants to discuss a pattern she has noticed across 3 separate ransomware cases. A timing signature that suggests a common command infrastructure. Her supervisor has reviewed it and forwarded it upward. You read her memo in a car on the way to a congressional hearing. You put it in the pile that goes to the cyber division for follow-up. It will either become something or it will not. You think about it at the hearing, not the content of the memo's existence. A 27-year-old agent in Chicago noticed something her supervisor didn't. She had the confidence to write it down and send it up. 12 years ago, that was you. The observation is not sentimental. It is institutional. The whole thing runs on that. Level 9. The Ghost in the Network. You retire after 27 years. No ceremony. That is your choice. A breakfast with your section, and a handshake from the director, and a box of personal items from your desk. The box is not heavy. You never put much on the desk because putting things on desks made them feel permanent, and permanent felt like the kind of comfortable that would slow you down. You drive south out of Washington on I-95. Your phone has 14 unread messages from colleagues. You read none of them. Not because you don't care, because you have spent 27 years being available, and today you are not. Somewhere in a field office in Atlanta, a 26-year-old is imaging a server from a ransomware attack on a hospital system. She is tracing the execution chain backward through the logs. She is finding something she almost missed. She flags it. She does not know yet if it matters. It will matter. Someone else will tell the story of how it mattered, probably, in language that will not include her name. That is fine. She will know. She will write it in her case file, and close the laptop and open the next one. The cycle continues.